But anyway, Chidima says 9 signs. Where's the 9 signs? No, I'm not leaving you. No worries. No worries. I got you. Okay, I got you. Let's talk about the 9 signs. We're going to count this down. But before I get into it, do you guys have any signs? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to share it. Any signs that you feel you want to share, that these are the signs, maybe from your past experience, maybe somebody you know, any signs that you feel like you wanted to share to ahead of me, feel free. Maybe you'll find your signs in mine. I'll give you 30 seconds and then we'll talk. All right, 30 seconds and then we'll talk. I want to share some signs with you, all right, of what to look out for to know that you might be in a toxic and an abusive situation. Okay, now let me prepare your mind ahead of time. Some of these things will come off as that is a sign of abuse. Yes, some of them are going to come off that way. All right, because again, abuse does not just fall out of the sky. It usually starts as a romantic. You are married to your enemy. You should have known that's your enemy. Loriro, that's a lie. You don't always know. Some do, okay, but you don't always know. Okay, let me say, Chidima says someone who never accepts when they are wrong. Okay, that's gonna create obviously a toxic environment, right? So if you feel like the other person never accepts that they are wrong, that's gonna feel like toxin inside of you, right? And you're not going to. So that's some of these things that we're going to talk about right now. Okay, I said somebody wanting to know your location. So that sounds like more like a controlling behavior. They want to have an idea. You starting to now, of course you should want to share your location with your romantic partner, but if you're in a situation where you are already looking over your shoulder, why do you always want to know where I'm at, and you kind of feel funny about it, right? You might want to pay attention to that. Okay, but at more of a high level thingy, right? Yes, all of this will fall in the same category. Always wanting to have the final say. Yeah, so if you feel like somebody is always wanting to have the final say, that usually means, one second, that usually means that you don't feel heard, you don't feel like they hear your own, you don't feel like you have a say in a romantic relationship. That's going to create toxin. Obviously that's going to create anxiety. That's going to make you feel unsafe, either as a man or a woman. You'll be walking on eggshells. Okay, so that's obviously a toxic situation. Okay, when I say toxic, feel free to use it interchangeably with abusive situation. Okay, so and I think a lot of us feel like it has to be extremely bad, like a PDD situation, before we can call it abusive. Not necessarily true. It could be emotional, it could be verbal, like obviously that one is obvious, but emotional could be you're feeling some type of way inside, you're feeling abused, but you're like, no, it can't be that deep, I could just speak, but then you're also afraid to speak because you're operating from a place of fear, right? Over communication to monitor you, right? So controlling, right? Yes, that is control, and control is an element of abuse. Yes, yes. So we're saying control there a lot. Sounds like an insecure partner. Yep, yep. So if you feel like your partner is insecure, even if you're a man, and you feel like your woman is insecure and they kind of like have to over you, and you don't feel free, that is a toxic abusive situation. It needs to be addressed. Okay, everything must be their way. Anger issues obviously will be in that. Okay, so as I'm sharing some of this with you, I want you to also share in the chat what's coming to mind for you. So let's talk about the 9 signs of an abusive marriage, okay, or what might end up becoming an abusive marriage. 9 of 9, obsession with I am not the bad guy. Okay, obsession with I am not the bad guy. There's a person that's always, they tend to always this active obsession with like, oh, so I'm the bad guy now. They might say it in reverse. They might be sarcastic about it. They might be condescending about it. But you can just read it like this person is obsessed with not being the bad guy. If they're obsessed with not being the bad guy, that usually means they're obsessed with making you the bad guy. Okay, at the very minimum, you will feel that way. That is an abusive situation. Eventually, it's going to escalate, and yes, how far is it going to escalate? We don't know. That's the issues, right? So what we're looking at, what we saw in that video, is an escalated situation that could have stemmed all the way to those two of them's childhood, right? But we don't care. That's a criminal act, right? But we're trying to talk about things you should look out for so you don't end up in that kind of situation. You should check them up front. Okay, you see these kind of things like all right. George Reality says silent treatment and withdrawal of things as a form of punishment. We're going to talk about that. That is definitely a major one. That might even fall under what they call financial abuse, right? Someone who always changes the version of events to villainize you and always paint them as good. Okay, so that means you feel like this person think they are just everything since sliced bread. They never do anything wrong. It could be that simple too. Okay, but let's go to number 8. Fighting over any or everything. There are many people out there that are normalizing fighting inside of a romantic relationship. Just because many people are doing it doesn't make it healthy. Okay, all right. So just because many people, I agree, a lot of people have normalized it, like they saw their parents fighting, so they assign the idea of fighting. Now I'm not even talking physical, as like the active argument, loud, all these different things, right? They assign that to it just means we're in love. Right? We have people that say, well, if we're arguing, it's just what we do, like it's because I love you. Like, no. All right, yes, it doesn't mean you don't love them. I'm just saying that's an issue that must be addressed. Okay, so if you have constant and irrational arguments, okay, that is a sign that someone, at least one of the two people, are looking to push control down the other person's throat. Control and dominance. Okay, so for example, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, right? In that way, but that altercation that was captured on that video, it obviously shows an unnecessary level of aggression. Okay, that shows an unnecessary level of aggression. And then speaking of the fact that, oh, so I'm the bad guy, or they're obsessed with not being the bad guy, all that kind of stuff, you know, the public denial can be assigned to that, but that's just public denial. I'm just saying, a lot of times people will try to act like this is healthy. We all know it's not healthy. You knew that you felt the toxin while you were going through that very toxic argument, but then you are trying to justify and normalize it like it's not that bad. Everybody else do it. I saw my parents do it. Maybe you're not saying that.Maybe your partner is saying that. That's an abusive situation. You should check yourself out. Make sure you address it before you move forward. All right, we're talking. Before I continue to number 7, let's go to no, Chidima says someone who always changes the, okay, we already covered that. Jealousy. Yep, jealousy is a sign of an abusive. Either you feel that the other person is jealous, or somebody's accusing you of being jealous. The two of them, that's a sign. Those right there, okay, those are two different signs of an abusive situation. Either you are accusing another person of being jealous, or you're being accused, right? So you're being accused doesn't mean you're trying. Just because you don't have the intention to be abusive doesn't mean you're not being abusive. Listen to what I just said carefully. Just because you didn't have the attention to be abusive does not mean you're not being abusive. Remember, it's in the eyes of the beholder. It should be addressed. You don't want to wait until it's in your face before you address it. If your partner is coming to you and say you are being abusive, drop everything. Say, babe, we have to talk about that. What do you mean? Well, you need understand for your own good. You need understanding, a better understanding around that before you move forward. You don't want to get stuck in the argument that no, I'm not being abusive. How would you know? Remember, the other person's on the receiving end of what they perceive as abusive, right? Either way, you can deem it that's an abusive situation. Just call it that and seek help that you need. Okay? Toxic can never be healthy. God forbid. To fiakwa. Typical Niger love, right? So they call that Niger love. We just fight. It's just love. Like, no, it's not. Okay? There are people having better experience, and the other type of experience is better. But I understand if you feel like, oh, well, if it's not fight, it's boring. Some people say, some women just look for argument. You're normalizing it too, okay? There's more to that story. You can't just conclude at that, okay? They say he loves you, that's why he's asking and arguing. Yeah, nope. Yes, they normalize it as, well, you're emotionally invested in the relationship. Yeah, sure, you're emotionally invested in a relationship. That doesn't mean it's healthy, right? That's not the healthiest, that's not the healthy way of expressing your emotions, right? Yeah, the people that buy each other, they can also claim the same thing, right? So God is a jealous God. Wahala. Anyway, that video was beyond aggression. It was physical abuse. Honestly, if I wasn't on vacation, that video would have traumatized me big time. It scared the crap out of me. No more. No more. Hey Tonya, good to see you. Bola, God they wait for you rapture day. Why you say that now? At least your crime of passion. Passion. And you start hearing passion. So we gotta be careful with some of this. Some of these languages is how people, it leads to crime of passion. Exactly. This is how people have normalized this behavior. No, that's number 8 right there. Fighting over any and everything. This is kind of connected, but petty bickering and yelling. Petty bickering and yelling. Okay, if you feel like your wife is nagging, I'm not saying she's actually nagging. If you feel like your wife is nagging, that is a toxic environment for you. That is abuse that you're feeling. You need to address it before you move forward. No, we're not going to argue if it's actually abuse or not. I don't know. But you need to address it before you move forward. Okay? I don't know your story. But if you feel that way, that is toxin you're feeling. Okay? Because if your wife, she could be saying the same thing. Another man might be like, what's up, babe? Talk to me, talk to me. It's not really nagging for them. But to you, you might call it nagging. If to you, you call it nagging, that's abuse that you're feeling. It doesn't mean the other person intends to abuse you. Okay? But you should address that before you move forward. Because by the time it escalates, you might have lost your control of your temperament. And then now we're claiming crime of passion. We don't want to wait. We don't want to be normalizing some of these things. So petty bickering and yelling, if you perceive it as that, or if your partner perceives it as that, you need to pay attention to it. Okay? So sometimes it looks like frequent, no, even sometimes it looks like a very trivial argument. Okay? Sometimes it looks like it's just very trivial. Like it's not, to you it's not a big deal. The other person is storing resentments. They're like, I don't like this. And you're like, your place too, yeah. No. They don't like it. You should pay attention to it. Okay? Well, all these rules, when are we going to fall in love then? That's why you should talk to someone so you can help you sort it out. Okay? So if you are having a trivial, what you consider a trivial argument, and it's escalating into yelling, okay? The environment is getting tense. You're in your mind, you're like, what? And then you're still trying, my point is what I meant to say, you're trying to justify it, and then the other person is feeling aggravated. Yeah. Okay. So in that video that we saw, there was no audio to it, but do you think it was yelling? Do you think it might be yelling? Okay, all right. So he was chasing her down the hallway like that. So, but I'm not even talking, it doesn't have to be that kind of aggressive stuff. It could be every time you try to have a conversation, it just tends to be that your partner tends to get to a place, because if you are yelling, you probably don't know. You're like, I'm just trying to communicate, I'm not yelling. But if you're seeing your partner yelling, or if your partner tells you you tend to yell, you should pay attention to that. I hope that helps. Let me come to the chat for another few seconds. All right. As I say, yelling is like beating to me. Oh. Yeah. All right. So, Nigerians, you tend to be loud. Go and talk to other nationalities. They will tell you you're loud. Okay. It's not about you saying we're not loud. It's not about you disagreeing. If other people are receiving you as loud, be self-aware and say maybe that is a thing. If the second person is telling you, the third person, the fourth person, like, why are you guys always loud? Like, we're not loud. What do you mean by that? If you're married to one of them, you might want to pay attention to that. I'm sorry, oh, sorry. The job people don't collect. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hey, self-awareness. It's not about what you see yourself. It's what you should pay attention to. Tonya says, hello, Tonya. She says, hi, Ola. Sorry to digress a bit. Do you offer therapy? I offer coaching. I offer coaching. I have a 17-year-old traumatized, sweet young girl, adopted daughter, kind of who needs some counseling before she gets to adulthood. I'll link you up with the therapy. Just send a message to... let's see. Where is it? Jesus. Send a text message to, I can't find the label. Okay, there you go. Okay, send a text message to this number on the screen. Okay. But yes, we offer all of that. Let's see. Definitely yelling, cursing her out. We Naija yell, yes. I am an African. Our voices are loud by nature. Continue. Now only you waka come. Exactly. Yes, yelling is like beating. It is traumatic. When I saw the video, it honestly changed my mood for a solid 30 minutes. Bro, it is not better female to female. It is not better. No. Male to male. The same thing. Anyway. So, let's go to the number is also scrolling on the screen. Feel free to ask again if you didn't take it down, or down rather, right? The next one, number 6, we're counting down to 1. We're covering the 9 signs of an abusive marriage. Okay, number 6, lack of temperament control. All right, some people call this anger. Okay, all right, so I don't know, some people from a standpoint, they might say abuser exhibits uncontrolled anger and violent outbursts. Don't wait until you're called an abuser. Don't wait until you have to call a person an abuser. If you've seen uncontrollable anger, or you are being called, or you're being accused of having uncontrollable anger and violent outbursts, okay, either you see it or you're being accused of it, you need to pay attention to it. Okay, you can't just say, well, he's just upset. All right. Oh, by the way, victims tend to give excuses for their abusers too, just so you know. They just put that in there. Okay. Oh, he's just upset. Oh, he's apologized. No. Good for her, she apologized. It needs to be addressed. If you've seen that a few times over a period of time, it needs to be addressed. And you need tools. You need tools, you need skills. Both of you need tools and skills to navigate whatever that is. Okay, you need to get down to the bottom of it. Okay, because it will come back to the surface. Okay, it will come back, and by the time it comes back, it might be too late. So again, if you see it as a consistent thing, if it's a one-off, it's just a, you know, maybe you can have a conversation by yourself. But if you've seen like a repeated pattern, there's a pattern for a reason. You need to be careful with that. Okay, let's go to number 5 right away. DV, justification undertone. I just said that, but I wanted to also spell it out like this, right? There's a little undertone, like somebody said, well, if somebody stole your money, you would just I could kick a person even for stealing my Timex, not even a Rolex. If you steal a Timex, if somebody talks like that, they're your husband. They're not even talking about you. Person talks like that, or you see a woman justify like, well, women too, please don't watch your mouth. If you see a person who tends to talk like that from time to time and they are your spouse, you need to watch out for that. Okay, they have other ways, and the blind spot of a way that they might be abusive This should not be in any shape, form. I don't care if it's a conversation. I don't care if it's a trivial conversation. It should not. This type of conversation should not, like, you can't excuse it. You can't indirectly, directly, subtly excuse it. You cannot say it's just screws and excuse it. No. You can't do that. Okay? So you might, either the abuser or the victim have a tendency to justify violent actions. They might say it's deserving, it was provoked, what action led to the reaction. You might hear things like that. Every action is a reaction. I already told you that. There's some lines you cross. All the actions you're reacting to, they are cancelled out. It's your reaction that is now the action that is punishable. So we have to be very, very careful with that. All right. So if you're hearing DV, justification, undertone, or they might say, well, it's not DV if it's not physical. Even that, like, if that's your spouse, let's make sure that's addressed and corrected, especially if you've seen patterns of that aligns with that type of outlook. Gotta be careful. All right, I'm gonna do number 4, then I'll come to the chat. Okay. If you're starting to question the intentions of your partner, or again, your intentions are being questioned. If somebody's saying you're just evil and they happen to be married to you, you're in a toxic environment. You might not see it yet. You might not have been normalizing stuff, but again, these are the things you should address. Okay. You might be hearing, well, why is everything got to be abused? Calm down. Okay, even that's yelling. You just yelled at me. Okay, you just yelled at me. You're not paying attention. You need to pay attention to it. Remember, there's always another human being involved. Right? So it's not just your outlook. You have to pay attention to how the other person sees the world that will leave the experience they're having around you. Just because you are looking at the same thing doesn't mean you're having the same experience. Right? So you have to pay attention to that. Okay? So once you have somebody start to doubt their intentions, what do I mean by that? If you hear things like, that's just evil. Why would you do that to me? If you're hearing things like that, like they're starting to doubt your intentions, and especially they link it back to your intentions. They say like, you deceived me into a marriage. I feel like you're a completely different person entirely. If you're hearing things like that, the only reason why a person will bring themselves to say that is because they are feeling abused. Okay. All right. Now, you might hear like, no, stop saying it like that. An abuser is an abuser. That right there is an example. Okay. If you find yourself in a position where it must be said in that way, and it's either black or white for you, it makes sense. I understand. You need to talk to someone so that they can, because you cannot create anything good out of that kind of environment. That's all I'm saying. So the whole point of this is make sure you talk to someone. Talk to your pastor. They are free. Have a conversation around you. They might just help you clarify. You know, make sure you pay your tithe to your pastor. Anyway, let me come to the chat a little bit. All right. So, D-Love couldn't watch the full video and I've been skipping online. MOP, amend the therapy session. Female to female or male to male except for adults. It depends. The first step is just send me a message. It depends. Okay. For children, that's another situation, but again, I'll link you up to the right resources. Okay. Let me know. Talk to me behind the scenes. But we do offer marriage coaching here. If you're in a marriage and you feel like you're going through it and it's a broken situation, then I definitely want to talk to you. Okay. All right, Tonya. Jesus never fails WhatsApp group of church mothers. So Allah, Jesus never fails. All right, so let's keep going. Let's go to number 3. Number 3. So this one says, is this a typo or something? Going back and forth. Okay, all right. You tend to go back and forth between protecting yourself and your partner. Okay, what do I mean by this? Okay, you tend to go back and forth between protecting yourself and your partner. Yes, Victims will also protect, they will also protect their abusers. Well, it makes sense, okay? Remember, that's why people that say, why didn't you leave, they're lame. People that say that, they're lame. Let me just tell you straight up. Why didn't you just leave when if you say that, that's, okay, you're not lame. That's a lame talk, okay? That's a lame talk. You need to educate yourself on how this works, okay? But they have a tendency to go back and forth between self-preservation and protecting the abuser. You might even be calling it emotional manipulation. They might absolutely be coming from a place of ignorance. Either way, it doesn't matter. The result you're getting is the result you're getting, and those results are not good. Obviously, you need to talk to someone. That's an abusive situation. Keep in mind, I keep telling you, an abuser does not always intend to abuse you, okay? A lot of time, that's their own way of coping, okay? You are the supply they're feeding off of you, okay? It's not like I'm going to sit down somewhere and decide that I'm just going to manipulate my wife. You're giving them too much credit. Check out, talk to someone, okay? A lot of times it's coming from a place of ignorance, okay? So, but it makes it even worse, because if they don't know what they're doing and they can potentially harm you, then that's actually worse, don't you think? So that's that right there. Let's go to number, let's see here. So if you recall, even Cassie, remember the part of the story, Cassie left and then came back a few days later, according to the complaints, right? And then came back later, and then the hotel said you might want to leave. Like, she was coming back to actually apologize. That happens a whole lot, okay? Because it's not just a straightforward go back. It's not just that simple, okay? All right, so also the thought of coming home is scary. Every time you're going home, you're scared. At least you might not. Some people like, I'm not scared. It's not that I'm scared. Okay, you're anxious. Are you happy? Okay. Your mind, your heart is doing like when you're about to go home. Yeah, something does not sit right. It's not the feeling you like when you're about to go home. You want to go home because you love your kids, your children, but you're like I'm about to go home, right? You're scratching your head. Like, of course I love my husband. Of course I want to go home. You have to talk yourself into it, right? Gentlemen, you don't want to go home. You rather just go and drink. Drink your life away so that you can forget about your sorrows, right? And then you come in crawling in late in the middle of the night, 11 a.m. About you're not enjoying that marriage. You've been normalizing it with the side chick. You collect soon. That can only last for so long. That can only last for so long. It's not sustainable, and you're not going to build yourself doing that, okay? So when you dread the idea of going home, the extreme stories we usually talk about is to like an anticipated violence. Well, it doesn't have to be physical violence. It could be verbal violence. It could be emotional, okay? If you're feeling that way, that's a toxic environment. You need to talk to someone, okay? You don't have to run away from your marriage. Again, it's just a toxic environment. It needs to be addressed, okay? Yes, Stockholm syndrome. Exactly. Stockholm syndrome, sometimes the victim acts strange and on the abuser side as a coping mechanisms. Yes, yes. Anxious, yes, yes. Oh, it's not fear, I'm just anxious. Oh, I want to call it fear. When you talk to trying to help somebody and you're like, no, I wouldn't really call it fear. There's semantics we engage. It's not about semantics. Do you feel right going home? You don't? Okay, that needs to be addressed. That's a sign of an abusive marriage. You need to talk to someone. Anyway, last but not least, write exactly on 7 p.m. Anybody want to guess what the number one is? Somebody already suggested in a different way earlier on. We want to guess what the number one is. We want to guess something that I have, maybe it's something that you haven't seen, but you feel like must be on that list. Yep. What do you feel like must be on that list that I haven't said that you feel like might be number one right now? Or I think somebody mentioned something to that effect. You guys, when I asked you earlier on, I said, hey, you have any signs? And it was mixed in somehow in your words that you were giving me, they were quite long, which tells me that you're kind of like speaking from a place, you're trying to put a story into it, but not really, right? I said you don't feel safe. That should be on there. But after I was like, I'm not going to make it double digits, you know. I was like, 9 is fine. 9 is fine. At least by 9, inside of those things you will find, you know. So not feeling safe, we can probably fit that into the thought of coming home is scary, right? But no, not feeling safe. But that should be on there too. Not feeling safe, not feeling secure, not feeling loved, ladies, you know. Gentlemen, you don't feel respect from your wife. That is an abusive marriage. Listen to me, gentlemen. You don't feel respect from your wife. That is an abusive marriage. Okay. Again, it doesn't mean your marriage has ended. It just means there's something you need to address. And if you don't address it, it escalates. Okay. It might not necessarily escalate into a PDD type of situation, but you're not going to enjoy that situation. Okay. You're not going to enjoy that situation. But anyway, I'm going over time here. I don't want to go over time. Okay. Nobody called in today. If you want to call in right now, I'll give you another 3 minutes. If not, I'm calling it a day. Okay. All right. So, number 1 of 9, guilt. You made me do it. You made me do it. Somebody said earlier on that they never admit to wrongdoing. You remember that? Another one. Your wife is saying, "Is that secret now? You didn't know. You don't aware." So that's secret, right? But you made me do it. If a person seems to never want to admit to any wrongdoing, you've never smelt any ounce of apology from them, even if it's a fake apology, for them to just come to a space where they say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. You've never, like, ever, never. As I say, no accountability. Yes, guilt. All right. Now there's multiple angles to this guilt thing. Okay. Remember, we covered these things from a standpoint of seduction and attraction, social intelligence, emotional intelligence. That's the angle that we take these things from, right? So, if you look at the poisons here, okay, all of these poisons, you can fit that into one. So guilt guilt is number 6 on this list, right? But it's shaming, you know, shaming. They think shaming is just, they are very quick to hold you accountable, but self-accountability is so far from them, right? They don't know what self-accountability is, okay? Self-regulation, none whatsoever. But particularly back to this statement in quote, you made me do it. They're obsessed with what you did that made them do the wrong thing. Right? What did you do that got me to do the wrong thing? That's a very toxic situation. Okay, you might even excuse it. You might have been excusing it for years. At some point, something's gonna give. Yes, they blame you for everything. Some people call it what's the N-word? N-word. The N-word, the most popular N-word, the one that I tend to push against. What's that N-word? Somebody put it in the chat. Right? Yeah, some people call it that. Says a knock. It's a knock. He never sees his wrongdoing. Okay. Anyway, but I'm more particular about this. You made me do it. This frame of you made me do it. That's a person who is always saying everything I do wrong, you did it. If this is the angle they come from all the time, and you've identified your situation to be that situation, that is an abusive situation. Something will give, something will break at some point. Okay, and we don't know what that is, and we don't want to wait until when something breaks, we call it the rock bottom, right? When something hasn't broken, a lot of people just want to argue with their destiny. They want to argue semantics, but you don't have to wait. You could just be like, yeah, we need to address that. Okay, I personally think that if you're inside of a marriage, right, I think if you're inside a marriage and you've never gone through some kind of school of how this works, I think you need to re-engage that. Okay, you need to re-engage. There's a good chance that you might even be in the la la land. You might be fantasizing that everything is good. Your partner might that's why people say, I never expected it, I never see this coming. Yeah. There's always another human being involved. If you're not keeping a united front, okay, if you don't have a united front, if you're both have not engaged, have gone through a school of thought, of ideologies with regards particularly to your marriage, where both of you are on the same page, I would definitely consider one. If you have been using common sense, right, I would definitely consider that you go through something, some kind of program or something like that, right? Even if it's short term, even if it's like a daily guide or something, you know. Oh, I do have a daily guide on this platform, by the way. If you're a member, you probably have seen it. But there's other ways to access it. I think it's also on Udemy. But even if some kind that you both go through, so that both of you, so that when there's crisis, when there's conflict, right, you can almost finish each other's sentences, right? So even when you're caught up in your emotions for just a moment, it can only last for so long. You're able to recoup yourself, bring yourself back and say, you know what, you're right. This is what we believe in. That's what we're going to go with, right? That's why we have the 3 core pillars here, right? The 3 core pillars is God, purpose, self. You never heard it before, right? Some of you might not have heard it before, okay? The 3 core pillars that my wife and I, that we follow, it's a whole chapter in the book. It's God, purpose, self. Okay, I heard you. I heard your spirit. You said, what about people that don't believe in God? Change the God to gratitude. Okay, God, purpose, self. God, gratitude, purpose, self. Whatever, but you need to have something that keeps a united front that both of you kind of follow, right? Because if you're a human being like the rest of us, we're all mad though. Anyway, everybody, what did Darabali say, right? Everybody is what? Right? Okay, we're not mad, but you know what I'm saying. We're in everybody. Everybody has worry inside their head. If you don't have something that's bigger than self, something that you follow, right, together as a united front, the devil is only looking for one thing. The devil is looking for just one thing. When I say the devil, I mean you're your own worst devil, by the way. I'm not talking about the angel that live on another planet. I'm talking about the you, right? It might be inside of you or your spouse or both together, right? The devil is looking for one thing. Okay, yeah. Demons, they're looking for one thing. They're looking for a small crack inside of the wall. Sometimes those cracks will come in the form of your children. You never see that one. I know. Sometimes they come in the form of what? Yeah, like what kid? What did Oberate do now? No, they also come in the form. Yeah, we call you human beings. We are our own worst enemy. Let's not deceive ourselves. Anything else that you want to do in life, you do it, you go and educate yourself. The only thing we disrespect is marriage. Extreme disrespect. We just winging things along. It's common sense. Sure, you didn't know you're supposed to do that, Nick. I didn't know. No, I didn't aware. I knew.
Oh my days.
No. Hey, Antonia. Good to see you, Antonia. Thank you. I appreciate you. So please make sure you educate yourself. Marriage is not anybody's mate. Marriage cannot be put on a pedestal to fall off. Marriage is a function of the people inside of it. Okay. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be in an abusive situation. Okay. All right. The worst ones, in my opinion, are the ones that does not look like PDD. At least you see a PDD, you can run. The worst ones are the ones that don't look like PDD or Puff Daddy, whatever you prefer. Those are the worst ones. They eat you up inside. Eat you up completely inside. And even if you end it, it destroys, potentially destroys and create damages for your future relationships. Very, very dangerous. But that's what I have for you today. Yeah, those were the 9 signs right there. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. I think what, I'm like 10 minutes over. Okay, we did well. If you have any, I'm gonna wait around for another 2 or 3 minutes. Ice, I say I want bishop. You could tell Ice is day one here. She's talking about bishops. Which one? APC bishop? Abi PDP bishop? Which one? Abi somebody bishop? Listen, we just have to start paying attention. So that's our message. If you want to avoid this kind of craziness in your relationship, educate yourself. Okay, all right. Stop running around the internet street talking about narcissists. Okay, sometimes you're the worst narcissist. Sometimes it's you're the narcissist. Okay, stop doing that. Educate yourself. Start with you. If that's all you got, then all you got you is good enough to start with. Okay, but if you have your partner and you're lucky enough to still have your partner, then definitely you need to have a united front. You have a set of principles that you work on, particularly for rainy days, because those days will come. You will have a small disagreement, it will escalate. Okay, yeah, let's work on that. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Innocent until what? This guy is innocent. We saw a video, Korokoro Eyes. He did it. I beg. He did what he did. Okay. All right. So Pop Daddy did it. He did it. I don't know anything else, but this one that I saw in this video, he did it. Do we agree? Anybody disagree in the chat? He did it. Let me see. Market on narcissists and high value men has fallen. You're noticing? Yes, so I think we're starting this. I think there's a lot of awareness coming into the game. You need game. You need to know what you're doing. Okay. When I say you need game, you need game. If you're a young lady and you need game, okay, you need game. If you notice that attraction no dey work, you need game. Okay, it's not looks. Okay, looks are just a piece of it, gets attention. That's about it. I'm talking about what sustains a certain situation over a stretched period of time. You need game just as much as the men need game. You need game. You need to know what you're doing. Okay, there are other people that understand this and they will continue to win the game. All right, life. But Beno is always saying life is a game. He's right about that. Life is a game. How do I know? There are 8 billion people here. There's an active competition out here, right? And while in one breath, you're not necessarily, I agree that you're not competing with anybody. I get it. Okay. You're in your own world, but you're also not living in a cave. All right. You're also not living in a cave. As I said, Brother Allah, we observe a lot to just pay to be quiet. Then chu. Yes. Latu, hello. How you doing? Yep. Yeah, you've noticed that too, right? That's what it is. So let's keep talking. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. Hit the like button on your way out. I'll see you on the next one, and peace.
Hi, I'm Lola.
And this is Ola from Man of Prestige.
Did you know that nearly 50% of marriages end in divorce?
Studies also show that children raised in two-parent households tend to thrive.
If you're struggling in a broken relationship or marriage, you're not alone in facing these challenges.
But having a solid support system is crucial. We offer evidence-based relationship and marriage resources and coaching to help you navigate the difficult times.
Don't just wing it. Learn the principles that work.
Download our 2 free books and book your complimentary coaching session now at manofprestige.com.